got talking there, the interview, call it an audition as well. And eventually, we spoke about training and the rest. I found myself at it's now called the National Broadcast Academy. That's an arm of the
Okay, Mr. Bassey, you're breaking again. We can't hear you. I'll use this opportunity to ask Mr. Maduegbuna the same question I asked speakers. What? Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Chike Maduegbuna. I'm the CEO of Afrinolly Creative Hub. Afrinolly Creative Hub is essentially where is a media technology and content production company where basically we look at providing training, empowering young people, and then
training,
trying to work at the intersection of technology and creative arts. So you find that a lot of the times our interest is always in how can you apply technology to creative arts to leverage it. My specific role as the CEO is I'm in charge of strategy. I'm in charge of providing direction to the group. I try to reach out to the boundaries and the cutting edge of technology to see how much of that technology can we bring it into the creative arts. So most of the time, I'm the guy that's looking at what's happening, what's coming in so right now I'm looking at things like virtual reality, augmented reality. I'm looking at non-fungible tokens. I'm looking at streaming and stuff like that. So my role basically is to play the strategy, and then also I'm in charge of the commercial side. Our involvement in the creative industry or entertainment industry, as the case may be, I think it's very deliberate on our part because we first started by building a mobile application called Afrinolly. And we built it for Google Android Developers Challenge. And it won the Android Developers Challenge. Then we are trying to use technology to provide a solution for Nollywood, looking at the IMDb, knowing that, look, people really don't know what is coming out in Nollywood when it's coming and stuff like that. So we built an application that can help people to know what's going on. And then that's what brought us into the creative industry. But then the aim was just to play on the distribution and the commercial side of the industry. But after a while, we realized that there's a lot of ways we can change the way production is done. We can put technology in making it worthwhile and then create a room for emerging filmmakers to be able to partake and play a role in the industry. So we decided to get involved with production. And now we are doing productions in different areas, movie, TV productions. And now we're also running a reality show. So we recently ran the MTN Yellow Star production, and we are prepping for the second edition, which is going to start any moment from now. So basically that's what we do.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Ike, I'd like to ask this question. Why is what you do important? And is this a profession you advise students to go into? Because you had mentioned to us that you're basically a content creator, and that's something that people do. Why is it important? And would you advise students currently to go into this profession?
The job I do is very, very important. With drama, anybody that writes can actually bring a change in people's lives. and the society at large. What we do is that we portray things that are happening in the society, and we make people see what's wrong and what's right. And in so doing, some people who might not even realize what they're doing is wrong might get that knowing that, oh, okay, maybe I should change. You know, we try to bring about social change in what we write. So, and of course, there's the entertainment part where people are enjoying themselves. If, for instance, you have a comedy, people are laughing as well as learning something. So, of course, that's there. So basically, yes, if nobody addresses the problems of society, then who will? People will just be doing as they like. So it's very important to be a content creator. Yes, we also do for brands. For instance, the brand we're doing writing for now, where we're talking about basically things that, you know, a single woman is going through and the other people around her and the problems that they're going through and how they are trying to solve it. Sometimes they solve it the wrong way, you understand? So yes, we try to propose solutions, you understand? So it's a very, very important job. We have to have content creators. We have to have creative people trying to drive social change. And then, yes, the next generation. Did you ask me about the next generation? Should they be storytellers? Yes, definitely they should. I'm believing that this generation will pass the baton to the next generation and on and on. That's how life is, until God says it's enough. So basically, yes, it's a very, very important job.
Okay, currently we have Ejiro, Amos, Tafiri joining us. I asked the other speakers, please can you kindly introduce yourself and tell us why you joined your profession, what inspired you to join your current profession? Okay, you're muted, so we cannot hear you.
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Ejiro Amos Tafiri. I'm the creative director of the women's wear brand, Ejiro Amos Tafiri. So I am a fashion designer. I create unique ideas to satisfy women's clothing needs, especially readily available occasions wear. So why did I do this profession or join it? I would say it was a calling for me because in primary school and secondary school, I was going on to become a doctor. I was a A-list science student and all of that. But somewhere along the line in SS1, I discovered clothing and textile. I had always done, you know, needlework, home economics, and I excelled at all parts of it, agri, clothing and textile, whatever. But then I just somehow decided to choose clothing and textile as my vocational subject in SS1, and it totally changed my life. So I went on an excursion to Yaba Tech, and I discovered the world of fashion design and clothing technology. And I chose it because it combined everything I loved. I mean, I could create my own unique creations, like something that was done by me. I don't have to be quoting somebody else's theory. It combined mathematics, which was my favorite subject, science, because you have to research stuff, and arts. You can draw and have fun. I just thought it was a fantastic combination of all things that I didn't have to give up math. I didn't have to give up science totally. I didn't have to give up art. With fashion, I can do all of it. And so I secretly lost the idea of becoming a fashion designer from my SS1, even though it wasn't something I could tell my teachers or even my parents at the time. But then I went to art school. I studied fashion eventually against all odds. I graduated, worked in the industry, and set up my business.
Thank you. Mr. Bassey, would like you to tell us the importance of what you do, and would you advise our students to aspire to this profession that you are in currently? Mr. Bassey? Seems Mr. Bassey is not currently online. Okay, Mr. Maduegbuna, the same question. Can you tell us the importance of what you do, and would you encourage students to aspire to this profession?
I think it's very important for every young person to understand the changes in the times we are living in. And it's important for you to also be relevant in your own generation, because what works specifically for my generation is not what's going to work for your own generation. Your generation is going to live off this mobile device. You understand? Everything you're going to do is going to be ruled, devised, managed, determined by how well you're involved with things that go into mobile devices. So if you find yourself capable of producing content or capable of using the mobile device to actually promote creative content. So you could either be involved in creating the content yourself, or you could be involved in using this to distribute the content. You understand? Because at the end of the day, one thing is very clear. The people that make these contents often are not the people that sell it. They are not the people that are actually distributing it. So you could play on both sides of the divide. You could be part of those. For me, for instance, I'm not a hardcore content person. I am more on the commercial and on the distribution side of it. You understand? And more often than not, you find out what we do on the commercial and the distribution side is what adds value or creates the, or actualizes the value that is actually placed on the content. So for you as a young person, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to get involved at the intersection of science and creative arts, and then use this mobile device as a way of actually making content or using it to distribute content. You will not lack in the future.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Bassey is back with us. Can you hear me, Mr. Bassey?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, the same question I posed to the other speakers. Can you share with us the importance of your profession and what advice you would give to students regarding your profession?
All right. It is probably, as they say, the worst kept secret that the mass media, in this case, radio, television, is newspapers as well. These days, there's a shift. So again, it's the worst kept secret that it's the major form of information acquisition or dissemination. Or it's basically a source for news, for entertainment, for information and education. So yes, it is very important. My industry is very important. I mean, for example, for several shows on my station, there are 1,000,001 people tuned into a particular show in the morning. The newspaper review, for example, just to gather information, even if they've seen the information or read of the information via the internet, they still tune into the radio to gain perspective, to get the opinion of opinion leaders, analysts, public affairs analysts, and the rest about these issues. Other panelists would agree with me that they consume this information also through radio and television. And apart from the fact that it's a medium for the dissemination, mass dissemination of information, it is also a medium for entertainment. Of course, there are lifestyle and entertainment shows on radio and television, and it provides a platform for conversations as well. One of the major things you would notice from radio programs, from television programs, even social media these days, is that there is the room for back and forth conversation, interaction. So people get the chance to express themselves a lot more. And yes, so radio, television is a very, very important tool in our world, not just today, it's been there since forever. And then, yes, I would encourage the younger generation to aspire to be broadcasters. It gives them a platform to express themselves. Aside that, so for broadcasters, you get the chance to read up on a lot of things, and also be able to tell stories, get to cover events and tell stories the way they should be told. So yes, they should aspire to become broadcasters. And one other thing I would also like to talk about, aside radio, aside television, and other forms, there are podcasts these days. they could start from there. They could start from just using podcasts, recording with their phones, with other devices, and put up on socials, put up online, and begin to express themselves. Just tell their stories, and it could be them having conversations in groups or something. So yes, that's the importance of this medium of mass communication, or of radio as a medium of mass communication and other forms. And this should definitely aspire to be broadcast.
Thank you. The question is for Ejiro, Amos, Tafiri. The same question. You're going to be sharing the importance of your profession and what advice you give the students. What do you want them to aspire to in this particular profession?
Well, the dressmaking industry, either this fashion designing with all its branches, like the fashion industry or the manufacturing industry, because I design the brand and I also produce the goods. So I'll talk on both. So the fashion industry has many branches, and now in the current times that we are in, Africa has woken up to the understanding that the arts, the creative arts are very important. And I don't think the rest of the world wasn't doing it as formally before, but we were importing a lot of our clothing or things that had to do with fashion, including jewelry, leather goods, and all of that. So the industry has woken up, a lot of professionals in it, and then Nigerians are now patronizing made in Nigerian and African goods. So there's no better time to join the fashion industry, quote unquote. That's the design industry, that is. And I mean, if you're a creative, usually you're born with the gift, right? So if you don't express yourself, if you don't find an outlet for it, then it's just going to eat you up. So you may go on to study something else, you may go on to do other things, but if you're like me that discovers it on time, it may pay you better to spend less time doing other things and get the actual tutelage and knowledge that you need, getting the right internships, the right mentors, and understanding the industry that you need. Because at the end of the day, it's also a skilled industry. The more you do, the more you know, the more you learn, the better you get, because it's actually a craft. That's for designing. And then under that, you have so many branches. You have styling as well, which is something that you have a creative idea and you use it to put things together. You can work with television, you can work with programs, movies, costume designers. So it's a huge industry, and it has been there for hundreds of years in the West and in Africa as well. But now even more poignant in our time today. So every young person that has that desire shouldn't just shove it away. And you'll make good, it's good because it generates revenue daily. It's not something that you have to sit or wait for it to germinate, so to speak. You can literally just tap into and start getting a resource. Even as a student, you can start making money from the craft or the design ideas and knowledge that you have. Then in manufacturing, humans will always need clothing, will always need maybe makeup, different things. And you know that even a youngster like Kylie Jenner became a billionaire off selling makeup. So things that are probably considered non-important by a lot of people, everyone consumes. Nobody goes around naked. We all wear underwear, we all wear dresses, we all wear garments, and we want to be seen a certain way. We want to be regarded a certain way. So we also need multiple of all these things that we use on our bodies daily. Even the design of maybe a mobile phone, how it looks, it's fashion designing. How a car looks is fashion designing. How the interior of a car looks is fashion designing. So it depends on what you want to do. It's a wide spectrum. You have so many different branches. You can also do stuff like pattern drafting, for example. You can do styling, you can do merchandising, which is displaying or organizing how the goods will be displayed for people to like or buy. You can become a content creator to promote design wares, and so influencer online. And many fun things. The good thing about my profession is that it's work, it's earning, but it's fun. So if you love to play, have fun, and work, it's a very wonderful profession for you to get into.
Yes, I can agree with that because I'm a surface pattern designer, so you're very right. I also want to ask this question, and I'll also be asking our other speakers the same question, because you had mentioned it whilst we were talking about your profession. For the benefits of our junior students that still have the opportunity to make choices for senior secondary school, what are the subjects you would advise, that are very important for them? If they are considering, going into fashion, what are the subjects they should focus on?
I would say the good thing about fashion is it encompasses so many subjects, but the very one everyone thinks about is something in the arts. So for me, I did do clothing and textile because I wanted to be a fashion designer that made clothes and accessories. But if you want to be like a designer that designs cars, that designs the motifs on clothes, maybe not necessarily. You don't necessarily need that. You can do clothing and textile, you can do garment making, you can do arts. Now, those are the creative subjects. But I would just say have fun with it. If you're a science student and you like all of these things, pick one, that is not traditionally in that and just explore. If it's the arts that you want to do, find one of these three and explore. In Nigeria, we don't have a lot of universities or higher schools of learning that offer courses in fashion design. So you don't have to be restricted to a certain course, but the fine arts will be one to have, because I almost didn't get to study clothing and textile and fashion designing in Yaba Tech because I didn't do fine arts. I did clothing and textile, but then the requirements was later changed. But nowadays, a lot of people get into the industry even without studying fashion. You have other means of studying online. So the world is your oyster. Have fun with it.
Okay. Mrs. Ike, I'd like to ask the same question. What subjects should our students consider, learning in senior secondary school? Now, this for the benefits of those that are still in junior secondary school. So when they're making choices, what subjects would you advise that they focus on?
From what has been said so far, I think some might have been picking the fact that you have to be versatile. You have to have knowledge of practically of art, of science. Now, let me explain. Being a content creator starts with an idea, right? But you have to express that idea so that other people will understand. And while you're doing this, you have to use the creativity is arts, but there's a science part kind of in script writing, in putting a content, whatever together. I would say the person must have a subject, must learn, or how do you say it, must pick a subject, the following subjects: English literature, English language, and surprise, surprise, entrepreneurship is very important. Because if you eventually I think everybody is required to not everybody you have to start your company. That entrepreneurship will work quite well for you. I would say social science subject. Because a lot of the content we write, in fact, content is basically about human life. And you have to have a lot of knowledge about what works where and all of that, And then also probably a subject with some religion, you understand, like CRS, for instance, because that probably will give you some help for you to chart your core values, you understand? And then please be good enough in maths. Don't just throw away maths. Writing a script is mathematical. Actually, in Hollywood, right, they have formulas, and we're doing it in Nigeria now. They have formulas to script writing. They have how they do it. All those blockbuster films you're seeing, it didn't come from just somebody imagining something. It's actually imagination plus trying to put it inside the formula. For instance, there's formula for sitcoms. There's formula for practically everything in Hollywood. And when you follow that formula, it kind of works because maybe they developed it over the years and all that. So you need to be versatile. Don't say, oh, because I'm going into the arts, I want to be a content creator, I'm going to throw away maths. Please don't. You just heard Mrs. Amos Tafiri said that even our maths came to play. There's still some maths and arts. So yes, English literature, English language, entrepreneurship, a social science subject, maybe it's a subject that touches on religion, and some maths. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, I was muted. Thank you, ma'am. Currently, I believe the subjects in our secondary schools helps our students to be versatile, since it's been categorized into different categories. You have subjects that are compulsory, English, maths, and other categories, the humanities, sciences. You have your vocational subjects. I believe Ejiro also, mentioned that she was able to do several things, with her vocational subjects. So I believe our students have a lot of opportunities to be versatile. Mr. Bassey, I'll be asking the same question. Yes, you're in broadcasting, mass communications. Do you also agree that students should be versatile, or from your opinion, do you believe there are specific subjects that they should focus on?
Yeah, I mean, we're focused at this moment on junior students, right? And
yes,
it's important
so that help them make choices.
Versatility is important at this time. Exactly. So at this point, they would need, like Mrs. Ike said, it is very important that they learn everything. So for example, I'm on the newspaper headlines and editorial. Okay, maybe that is related, directly connected to my job and the art, right? So there are several other programs. I could just wake up the next day and I get a mail from my boss telling me to host a business-related program. I mean, that's something I didn't do at all. Like I stayed out of business-related issues growing up. But I could have difficulty if I cannot adapt now. So for them as junior students, it's important that they learn all of these things, learn everything they can learn while they can. And so it's valid to say that they should learn all subjects, at least have the foundational knowledge of all of these subjects, English, math, but of course also pay further attention to the core. If they are at this level saying, I want to be a broadcaster, for example, I want to go into mass communication, yes, pay attention a lot to the core, but do not leave out other subjects. Yeah, definitely. So I'll just leave things that way. And I totally, completely, 100% agree with Mrs. Ike on her point.
Okay, thank you. Our next question. Are there other, I would like to ask Mr. Maduegbuna, are there other routes to your profession? Say for instance, you pass secondary school, you don't really want to go to university. Are there other routes that you can use to get into your profession?
Honestly, there are, because things are changing rapidly. First you're going to look at talent. You understand? Sometimes people have talent, all right? And then you can apply that talent into what you're doing. But then talent is different from skill, because talent can take you up to a point, but you need skill, which is learning the art and craft of what you're doing and the science of it to be able to really excel in it. And then converting it from that point into a business is actually
Sorry, you're breaking. Hello, sir. sir. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. Okay. We couldn't really hear Mr. Maduegbuna. So I'll ask Ejiro Tafiri the same question. Are there other routes to getting into your profession? Hello, can everyone hear me? Ejiro, I think you're still on mute because I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, Ejiro, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, because I have. Okay, so I was saying, like I said earlier before, you don't have to even study fashion to get into the fashion industry, because at least in our climate, and I'm sure in the West as well, especially if you're uniquely talented, but in here, because we don't even have it as courses in the higher institutions, which should be changed, and I hope it will be time you all get into higher institutions of learning. Now, we don't really have those courses available. You might not even want to go to the schools where they are available, because I went to Yaba Tech and a lot of people, my parents found it very tough to swallow. And that was about 20 years ago. So I can imagine 20 years down the line and we still don't have a institution maybe to the power of what your parents want for you. It might be tough to let you go study fashion or art. So you can study whatever you want. And you don't even have to even go to university. These things are, you have the talent, so you have something that will make you unique, and then you go and hone your skill. And this happens via tutelage and maybe apprenticeship of some point, of some sort, internship. So I have a lot of young people that intern with me. They study other things in the university, and it varies from medicine to business admin to political science, whatever. And they have this passion thing that is burning deep within them. And they often come for internships. And now some of them have fashion businesses alongside the other professions. The people that I studied from, aside from my formal education, let's say during my internships, did not study fashion either. My first boss was, only one was a proper fashion designer from the beginning. One was a medical doctor and another was a political lawyer. So you just have to now go and learn. So if you want to be proficient in pattern drafting, cutting, you can take online courses, you can go to short courses later in the university. If you want to be a stylist, it's more about developing your eye. How do you balance color? Read a lot about color, research works of people have come before you, and add your own unique style over it. If you want to be an influencer, there's no school to go learn how to be an influencer. Maybe you can get tips from master classes as to what works, when to post, how to take pictures, what to do with the lighting, and all of that. And maybe in your own time, there will be university courses. So we don't really know, but right now, there are so many other ways to get in the industry. And the best way, I think, is internship, to start to get that knowledge, to see what the industry is like. If you have an aunt or an uncle that's a artist and you like makeup, you can follow them to their jobs and just see what it is like and see something you like. And their YouTube videos, YouTube is a very great place to learn a lot of content. I mean, if you are specific to what you want to learn, you'll find all this content available online. So you can literally become a professional of some sort by gathering information online, and you will have to spend time honing those information into your skill by actual doing. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask Mrs. Ike, based on what Ejiro just said, when she mentioned interning, would you advise secondary school students to intern in the course of their holidays to intern in companies that they have interest in? Would you advise them to go that route so as to learn?
Definitely. I would have loved it if I interned when I was a teenager. I had to go through the route of having degrees and then going back to TV school and all of that. So if I had interned, a lot of things that I'm like kind of trying not to jump into, because I'm like, oh, I'm not sure whether it would be so easy, we walk over. Recently, I had a young lady, she's waiting for admission at Unilag to study creative arts. And she just sent me a WhatsApp message and said, please, I'd like to volunteer. She didn't even say intern. I'd like to volunteer. I'll do anything. I'll help you edit because I write novels too. I'll help you edit your novels. And if you have any seminar, I'll be there. I'll do anything. I'm like, oh dear. I had to respond to her. In fact, when I responded the second time, she was like, oh, I'm so grateful you did. But I was thrilled that somebody of that, age would sit out and say, I would like to learn from you. It helps you. You already know practically, well, not everything, but you already know a lot of what you want to study in school by the time you intern. You can even be you can be making tea for them. They might say, oh, just be the girl. But you must be watching. You're watching all their moves. You'll be able to see what makes their company just by interning. It's a wonderful thing. Please go for it if you have the opportunity.
Thank you, Ma. Mr. Maduegbuna, what's your position on interning? And would you advise for your profession, your company, would you advise secondary school students to come intern?
Well, the truth is, my whole business is built around what they don't teach you in normal schools. So that's why we created an Afrinolly Creative Hub. You understand? A creative hub is where you have opportunity to learn things that you don't have to learn in formal schools. The kind of things we do, the schools in it, even the so-called, they don't even have the kind of equipment we have. Do you understand?
Yes,
Look at
sir.
the curriculum they are running, it's obsolete. So
wow, sir, you're breaking. Hello, sir, can you hear me? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. If you can hear me, I'll go to the next speaker, but we'll definitely be coming back to interning because I believe what you have to say is very important and critical for our students to learn. Mr. Bassey. Mr. Bassey, can you hear me?
It's important.
Okay. Mr. Maduegbuna. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Bassey, please hold on a bit. I think Mr. Maduegbuna is back. Okay, he's off. So we'll come back to him. Mr. Bassey, I also wanted to find out what your position is regarding interning, and currently in broadcasting, is it open for students to come intern?
Okay, for secondary school students, might be difficult. I mean, it's a lot to work in a newsroom. Might be difficult, but then of course it depends on their ability to adapt to the environment. But whether or not it's a good thing to, absolutely a fantastic thing to do before they get to even advance their studies, probably in the university, to study mass communication or any media-related courses. Yes, as regards interning, it might be very difficult, but I think that a few stations, a few media houses might be open to that.
Okay.
But it's something they should absolutely grab if they get the opportunity. Again, it's a difficult environment, the newsroom, or can be difficult and stressful for secondary school students, but it's something that they should grab. Probably go look out for some and grab it. Aside the proper conventional newsrooms, I mean, they could intern with several other media platforms. There are those who just provide content. I think like Mrs. Ike,
yes.
Ike rather, they could look out for such media platforms and intern. Just grab the opportunity, whichever one they can. But again, if they should get the opportunity. And maybe permit me to also speak to routes, educational routes. And there are several academies that do not require, let me put it this way. There are professional institutions that they can attend, academies they can be part of. Like I mentioned in my introduction, there is the National Broadcast Academy. They don't need a degree, a proper degree. You don't need to go to school for 4 years to study there. You could just use your YX certificate. If you don't have, I'm not sure that's a problem either. They could also use that to get, that's one route to use to get into the industry as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll be going back to Mr. Maduegbuna because I believe what he's saying about intern is very important and critical for our students to learn. Mr. Maduegbuna.
Okay, sorry. I think I've changed my Wi-Fi, so you will have problem now.
Thank you, sir.
I was actually near a production set, so we're constrained. The truth is, the bulk of the service we offer in Afrinolly Creative Hub, like I said, cannot be found in normal school. The reason why we set it up was simply because the schools cannot do it. You understand? The investments we put in, the schools cannot afford it. And then, so it's important for, I think these are, the people we are talking to are actually very young. They are in secondary school. So what I don't expect them to, on their own, begin to look for internship or begin to look for, I think the school should organize excursions for them. I'll be happy to receive some of them in Afrinolly Creative Hub and walk them through what we are doing. Their schools can organize excursions, bring them. We're happy to host them, you understand? And they can come in at that level and be able to see what's going on and be able to play with the instrument. Sometimes at this age, what they need is actually to see the equipment, the facility. When they play with it, something will click inside of them. And from that moment onwards, you cannot take away that desire in that person. So it's about exposing them to the facilities, exposing them to the tools. You know, there are a couple of them that I can put into a gaming facility, you understand? And then by the time they play the game, their mind will never be the same again. And it's not about playing game, it's about creating the game. Because the game you're playing was created by somebody, you understand? The same with fashion, the same with music, the same with modeling. So once you are exposed to that ecosystem, that's what the Creative Hub does, to expose you to that ecosystem. And I think the organizers of this conference should also, focus on how to get the schools to come in for excursions and then be able to expose these students directly to what we're doing. Then they can easily have the desire. The other thing that is very critical is that these students we are talking to, you know, at this age, we must learn how to allow them play with technology. There's nothing they want to learn that's not on YouTube. And as a matter of fact, they don't need to wait till university to actually begin to learn it. You know, I have a friend of mine that is just, you know, barely 20 years old. Okay, so she's going into a school, you know, in a university in Canada to learn creative writing. But at the same time, she's enrolling online to a school in Australia that is doing illustration and the game design. So effectively, the person is actually learning two things at the same time. You know, on the one hand, there's creative writing. On the other hand, there's illustration and the design. So I think these opportunities are there. hey, Ejiro, beautiful daughter. So
thank you, sir.
Opportunities are there, and we can tap into it, and we can expose them to these opportunities. But because they are teenagers, they cannot make these decisions on their own. Their parents and the school and the organizers of this program should work together and help them make these decisions and expose them to these facilities. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you, sir. I'll be asking those questions regarding skills. Now, in the course of the questions I've asked, our speakers have mentioned skills. I want to focus on soft skills. And I'll be asking Mrs. Ike, what soft skills should they be looking at when considering going into your profession?
Of course, you've got a lot of soft skills involved in content, producing content. And you've got things like teamwork, because you can't, one person doesn't do everything. I think it's going to be rather boring if one person is the everything in a production. You have to be able to work with people as a team. And then communication. You have to be able to pass what's in your heart to the other members of your team and even to the client. And then leadership, for instance, being the creative director, I lead many people work when we have a production. I don't do all the right thing. And I have people from, I've got some, like this one we're doing, I've got a 40-something-year-old person. I've got an 18-year-old, and I've got a 20-year-old. I'm bringing in another. So you have to be able to handle all of them. It's not the same way that you relate with a 40-something-year-old that has experience in writing, and that you do with, you know, someone that is just barely a child. So, yes. Then you have self-motivation. There's something about being the boss of yourself. You have to wake yourself up in the morning, get up, and go and ensure that you get things done. You have to motivate yourself, no matter the circumstances around you. And then you have to be good at problem solving. Writing a story is all about conflict. It's all about having a protagonist. That's the person that the story is all about. And then you bring in conflict. You understand? So when you bring in that conflict, like maybe say Mr. Bayo wants to go to Jebu, and there are herdsmen on the way. As he was going, his car broke down. You must bring in conflict for the very interesting. The way that you solve the problem eventually. So one of the soft skills I use, and I believe I'm believing to get more, I'm believing God for more, is problem solving. And also ability to work under pressure and time. I sometimes work up to 3 a.m. Sometimes I don't sleep or the next day until I now send the script to where it's supposed to go. You understand? So you have to work under pressure. It's not every time that I don't sleep on time, but sometimes you might get that. And then flexibility. You go to your client, you've already written everything. You think that is the best thing ever since sliced bread. And your client tells you that, I don't like this, put it this way. You have to be flexible. Or some of the people you work with say, no, that's not right. It's not going to work that way. You have to be flexible. Then you have to also know the art of negotiation, especially when the business is yours and you're talking, you're interacting, you know, or interfacing with the client or whoever else, like the studios, for instance, or if you're doing a TV production, of course, you have a lot of people you work with. You have to negotiate on how we are going to pay them, you know, and all of that. And then you also have this conflict resolution. You are in the same, you are in a team. For instance, I've had in my team, my recent team, I had to settle a quarrel between two people, you know, over something that was, to me, easy to solve. So you have to have all of those soft skills, apart from the other skill of actually knowing how to write the script, because there's a way to write. So that's basically some of the soft skills that I believe you have to have.
Thank you, ma'am. Ejiro, please can you unmute yourself? For fashion, you mentioned fashion and design and production. Are there any critical skills based on your experience that you believe that the students, should have in mind of when coming into your profession?
Well, I think generally I think students need to get themselves used to all the soft skills, really, like interpersonal skills, because you have to interact with people. If you're in the creative industry, you're in manufacturing, you're most likely going to be working with your clients and people that work in the factory. They're most likely not going to have the same educational level as yourself. So you have to know how to adapt and how to relate with different people based on different understanding and exposure and all of that to get the best out of them. You're also going to need to adapt to situations because it's an informal industry. So it's not the same as going into like a glow office, for example, or somewhere where you just go sit at a desk and you have this computer. So it's like, it might be culture shock for you if you're not open-minded and ready to adapt. In the different scenarios, you may need to go to a big market like Okeanri, for example, or Yaba market, go source materials. So you'll be exposed to so many different things that on a normal day, probably you wouldn't even get to live that life. You consider it, maybe for lack of a better word, beneath you. So being able to adapt to various situations and being open-minded is very, very important. Communication skills, you have to know how to relate with your team members and the clients, so all the 7 soft skills, I would say, are very important. You're living in these times where you're exposed to those things. I mean, we're growing up, I don't think we're practically taught or, told about soft skills. We had to figure them out along the way as we went on.
When you use search, you generate data, including what you search for, links you.
We had to, have mercy on me today. We had to figure those out as we went along the way. So I think it's very important for you to garner all the soft skills. But for fashion, you will need a lot of tolerance, because with all the glamour, it's glamour on the outside, but there's a lot of hard grueling work behind the scenes. You need to be able to adapt to various you need to be able to adapt to various situations and real quick. There's the glamorous side when you're on the red carpet, when you're in front of the world. Yes, you need to be able to put on that game face and do all of that. But when you have to bend down and get the work done, you need to be able to do that. So every interpersonal skill, every soft skill would help you in becoming a better human being, a better communicator, a better co-worker, and you will go on to achieving the very best of what you want from life.
Thank you. I'll be asking Mr. Bassey, Mrs. Ike and Ejiro have spoken about different soft skills, but for broadcasting, what are the critical skills that are needed in broadcasting?
Well, basic skill would be ability to communicate effectively. For radio, for television especially, you need to be able to use your voice to do that. Maybe a good face for television, yeah. But for radio especially, you would need definitely a good voice.
Did I give you full day?
A good voice to do that. And then, storytelling skills. You need that a lot. The ability to summarize a lengthy story in just a few minutes, a few seconds, especially for radio. It's called the blind man's medium. So you need to be able to, in seconds, summarize stories. You've read this 20 pages. Summarize them ASAP and be able to communicate effectively the message you've gotten from the 20-page story. So yeah, that ability to work also with a large number of persons. You'll be relating with a whole lot of people from different backgrounds, people you've never met, people you know, people you do not know. The newsroom is made up of individuals who cover several beats. They're either covering the economic side of things, or politics, or business, which is economy, several things, entertainment, and the rest. So you need to be able to relate with them. For example, as an editor would need to take beats from everybody, edit them, proofread, and then give out again for broadcast. So you would need to be able to relate with everybody. And also the ability to, especially if you are going to, away from broadcasting now to journalism proper, you'll be traveling a lot, you'll be going to places, several events. Sometimes broadcasters barely sleep 6 hours a day because, so yeah, all of those, you need to be able to adapt to situations quickly. Absolutely. The ability also to, adaptability, the ability also to, these other skills you would need to learn on the job. Maybe, yes, learn them before the job, absolutely, depending on what education you're getting. But on the job also, ability to speak with people. And by that, I mean interview people and then get whatever message you want out of people. It's not being manipulative, but it's you, the ability to literally speak, interview people, and get what you need. So you find that sometimes you're listening to an interview, radio, television, on newspapers or magazines. Okay, so this top figure is refusing to answer this question because, of course, he's trying to be basic because it's probably some information he wouldn't like to make public. But then the ability to press and not necessarily be pushy, but put the question in a way that you'd still get whatever you want to get from your interviewee. So yeah, several other skills, but I think time won't permit us to go on. So yeah, those basic ones. Most importantly is the ability to communicate and do so effectively. It's something you might learn over time. Yeah, it's beyond just speaking. It's beyond just using your voice. The ability to use your voice effectively, use the right words, and there is a set of words called registers. So the ability to also, that's why you need to, like we mentioned when we were talking about educational background and skills, or rather subjects to look out for or to focus on. Yeah. That's why you need to, it is important to read and study everything. So there are certain words applicable to medical doctors. There are certain words applicable. So the ability to use those registers when appropriate comes to play as well. So yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Tanimola, please, could you mute yourself? Mr. Maduegbuna, in the area of skills, now Afrinolly Hub is a creative hub. So I believe that people would be able to express themselves, but there are some critical skills, soft skills that I believe is still needed to ensure that things are handled properly. What are those skills that will come into play in Afrinolly?
Well, again, I have to speak so that I can speak directly to the people, the age we are dealing with, and it will be relevant for them. Look, young guys, I can tell you one thing very clearly right now. You know what they say, Google is your friend, all right? You must learn and develop the knack to research anything. Anything you don't know or hear, any word you don't understand, Google it. You understand? And YouTube should be your signpost. Anything you haven't seen, you don't know how it works, you find it on YouTube and check it out. Do you understand? Use these things and have it at your fingertips because you already have your mobile device and you have your data plan, you have your internet, okay? I will implore you, make Google your friend, make YouTube your signpost so that if people are saying things and even if you've not heard it before, you don't know anything, you just don't wait till they finish. While the conversation is going on, Google it and then check it on YouTube. It will really help you a great deal to really be able to know how to organize yourself, how to behave, how to engage, how to communicate. Everything you have, there's a how to do it that is already out there on YouTube and Google. You just need to search for it. That's the major thing I would leave for you. If you can develop that habit, then there will be minimal things we need to be teaching you, because then you can actually see how you can guide yourself in how you go. Because it's all about information. Your age, your generation, it's your ability to utilize information. Our generation was our ability to even find the information, because we didn't have it. We need to, so we have to be told, we have to be educated, we have to, no. In your own generation, you have information overload. It's your ability to apply it, ability to utilize it, ability to find it. And that's what I think you need most, because the moment you do, you will live beyond where you are. A lot of what we do in Nigeria has nothing to do with Nigeria. A lot of what we do in Afrinolly has to do with what we see going on at the global arena. You understand? If I'm waiting to play at the rate at which Nigeria is playing, we won't be in business. So all our activities, in fact, as God may have it, as I'm talking to you, 98% of our clients in Afrinolly are outside Nigeria. So you find out that, look, there's a lot you can do, you understand, by just positioning yourself out there, understanding how the global dynamics work. And it's all about how you use the information that's available. So for me, the greatest thing I can leave for you is to how to use your mobile phone to research, make Google your friend, make YouTube your signpost. The rest will be easy.
Thank you, sir. I'm going straight into the next question. Currently, are there any challenges faced in your industry?
You mean me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, every
as in regards to the
challenges.
profession now.
Oh, every industry has challenges, but the truth is, those challenges are where you have the opportunities. You understand? Everybody that's into production knows that right now, especially with COVID, you understand, there are lots of challenges around, okay? Cash flow is a problem, but the truth is, now is equally a time to get aggressive. For me, I've never been more aggressive in our business than we are right now. And just coupled with the fact that, you know what we are told, you know, when there is famine, when there is recession, when there is war, that's actually when we prosper, if you really know and connect very well with your maker. You understand? That's the time to get some divine direction that can lead you. So I'm very bullish. I'm very aggressive right now. And we are putting our hand, pursuing so many things that ordinarily we won't do. So honestly, what I call challenges are opportunities. And if you go and look at it from that point of view, you'll find out that you'll actually excel. If you look at it as challenges, you will not be able to grow. But some of these things are normal. You understand? For instance, I mean, the cash flow, it's not something you can't do with money what we used to do before. Now you have to be frugal, you have to be prudent. You have to be able to manage money very well, apply it very well. Now you have to negotiate very well. If I have cash now, cash is king. You know, when you go to, there are things you can't pay immediately, you try to push it so that you can use the money to trade and make more money. So everything you do right now is very, very intentional, and you've got to be calculative. So that's the time we're living in. In terms of other challenges, like competition is equally a big challenge in our industry. You understand? There's a huge competition. People copy a lot. There are lots of copycats. So you must learn how to innovate beyond what people are doing, because they can easily copy. There's a lot of piracy going on, but you must learn how to innovate beyond that. Then you must be very, very intentional in how you target your customers. You know, you need to have your own niche clients, niche customers, and create unique products that will be attractive to them, so that those products can actually go to them. Otherwise, you find yourself, you know, doing things that are generic. You know, we are in an era where specialization is the key. You must be specialized in some areas of what you're doing for you to be able to make progress right now. And for me, those are really, really opportunities if you understand it as that. And so I don't see them as challenges. I see them largely as opportunities.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ejiro, this question is for you. Please, can you unmute yourself? I want to ask, in the fashion industry, yes, you had the interest and the calling right from secondary school, but when you started fully, were there any challenges, and how were you able to deal with delayed gratification? Because for the younger generation now, it's like a microwave, everything fast, very quick, get money as fast as possible, as soon as possible. How were you able to deal with it, in your business?
Okay. So I haven't studied fashion in Nigeria, and then doing researches and writing papers, even as classwork and assignments, it gave me an honest overview or into the Nigerian industry. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. I did not assume that it would be rosy, because even while I did internships while I was a student, I saw how my bosses would work overnight and, what the struggles would be back and forth. So I knew what that was. And I knew that I was going to be an entry-level staff. So all these things is about calibrating and knowing where you are, and also starting early. I didn't go in there thinking, oh, everything was going to happen for me overnight. I understood who I was and my unique abilities and the things that were not so great that wouldn't work in my favor. So it's about understanding yourself, your position, and where you want to go, and knowing how to plot the graph between where you are, who you are, and where you want to go. Being ready to sacrifice or give everything you've got, be it time, be it your talent, be it your resource, whatever it is, to achieving that. So I knew of the bat I wasn't going to get what maybe other people that were my peers were getting from working multinationals, for example, because at the time, fashion wasn't a strong industry or viable. So I knew whatever I'll be offered as salary, especially coming in and saying, this young girl, what are you doing here? And I started working pretty early as 17. So you aren't going there. I really just wanted to learn, because I wanted to get to age 25, 27 and have known, garnered as much knowledge as possible. So you have to set out your goals appropriately. If you go into maybe an internship position at 17 or 18 and you expect to earn the same salary, if you have gotten the skills via YouTube and you know what you're doing and you can match the outputs with what a professional is putting out, you can demand equal remuneration, because I believe what you can do, you should get. If you can do something very well, you should get paid that. In my organization, it's not about how many degrees you have, it's about what you can do. Like my most valuable staff is a 20-year-old right now. So it's not necessarily how long, but you have to be able to deliver based on your skills and how well you've honed them. So yes, how well. So for me, I knew my deficiencies, I knew what was great, and I was willing to stay the course to learn it. And even when it's my business, it's about being honest with yourself. I mean, if you want it today and now, will it last? And then look at people that inspire you. What was their journey like? Those that are ahead of you, what is their journey like? You may know something different from what they know from studying them, which will give you a shorter route to arriving there quicker. But it does not mean that you won't still have a journey. So there will be a journey. So it was just a mental thing for me and understanding what my personal journey would be. And it helped me stay the course. It helped me be very frugal, especially when I started building my business. I started my business with about 40,000 on a sewing machine. And within a year, I was able to do 2 international shows and, have a website, have 2 stockists. So it's about having your eyes on the ball. And if you're very intentional, writing down a plan is something a lot of young people don't do or are not particular about. Being very intentional about your goals and your aspirations will help you stay focused, even when everything around you seems fleeting. And trust me, for creatives, a lot of the times, we don't have our loved ones believe in us. So even your siblings, your family members, they may not see what you see. My parents and my siblings and my tutors and teachers, everyone around me, nobody saw what I was seeing, because they saw that I was a fantastic science student. Why are you not studying Archie or engineering or medicine? What is this thing, fashion? And all we see is tailors around. Do you want to be a tailor? Nobody understood the dream. So you need to be able to document it and have your dream very vivid to you. And if it's that important to you, you will fight for it. You would stay the course and, know that better days, not better days, because I mean, for me, living my dream was fantastic. Even day one of my business was amazing. Whenever somebody tells me, what were your challenges? I'm like, I don't calibrate challenges because there were always opportunities and there are things that I had known would happen. I don't have a car, so I would use an Okada. It was being real with the situation and knowing that everything in life would come if I was diligent, if I was particular, if I knew exactly how and where I wanted to go and how I wanted to get there. And the universe will open up and there will be helpers and all of that. And take opportunities, make use of opportunities. There are 1,000,001 opportunities out there. People always say, oh, there are no jobs, or there are no opportunities. I have never believed that, even as a secondary school child. And say, oh, be very careful, you might not get, I believe for those who decide to be excellent and who know what they want, there's always a way and the world will always make a way. There will always be those opportunities for them. Mm-hmm. You have to have that belief, that guts to chase your dreams, even when it's not realistic to anyone around you, and just stay the course. You hear a lot of people that are in unique industries or unique situations, or even basic ones, but have done things differently or grown very fast. They had the audacity of hope and audacity of belief in themselves, in how they wanted to grow and in what they wanted to do.
Thank you very much. I like, there's some things that I noted, whilst you were talking, and one of the critical things you mentioned, documenting your dream. And I believe students at their level right now should get used to documenting their dreams, having plans, having goals, so that it helps them to follow through. Based on this, I want to ask Mr. Bassey this question. Because Mr. Bassey, you had mentioned that when you gave your introduction, that basically what you're doing right now was really born out of necessity. But you also mentioned creative expression. Now, in the course of going into this profession, what were the challenges you had, in the beginning, in the early stages, and how were you able to overcome them? Because this was not something that you had planned from the initial stage. Oh, this is the profession I was going to go into. But like you said, it was born out of necessity. So were there any challenges, that you had in the beginning, and how were you able to overcome it?
All right. So first things I probably should clarify. Like I mentioned in my introduction, I'd always wanted to express myself. Yeah, maybe this is another form of expression. Maybe not entirely how or in the direction I wanted, but this, platform has always been on my mind. So that said, I think first and foremost, which shouldn't be a thing of worry, maybe not, is delayed gratification. So the broadcast industry is not where you necessarily should be looking if you're looking to just, things are changing. There is social media right now. And then you could put a face to the voices you hear on radio every single day. And then it gets better. They become influencers. They do several other things. Anchor, host wedding ceremonies myself, do several other things to sort of support what I would like to call so a stipend and get, for my daily monthly earnings. So aside other things, that we do to make money. So delayed gratification, that's one. It is not the kind of job that, depending on the platform too. My colleagues at certain platforms or on certain platforms earn a lot more, double, triple what I earn, right? That said, it still isn't, in my opinion, the job you want to look at. So that's one challenge. If you're looking at making a lot of money quickly, quick cash, you shouldn't look this direction. That said, work tools, I'll be speaking particularly for or about my platform right now. So work tool and an unfriendly work environment is another challenge. And that's why I spoke about adaptability. You need to come into the industry with the mindset, like Mrs. Ejiro mentioned, stay the course. It doesn't matter what you're going to be facing. There would be challenges. You need to stay the course. Be intentional about what you want to achieve. I mean, I am chasing top brands. I am doing what I want to do now because I want to be on top brands. I want to be on bigger platforms. And that's one thing you should be going for. There would be challenges. I don't have the tools I ordinarily would like to work with where I work right now. I mean, I look at my colleagues and they have better tools. The environment is a lot better. We don't have the numbers here, for example, in the newsroom to get the job done effectively and even quickly. But on other platforms, they are there. But am I quitting? Am I going to quit? No, I would keep going. So that's another challenge. The work environment might be unfriendly, it might be stifling, lack of work tools. And then you could be working with people who are, as we like to say, top, who probably don't completely understand the nature of the job. I mean, if you follow the media industry, the broadcast industry, you would know that a lot of the owners of the industry or platforms playing in the industry are not core media people. They are just entrepreneurs who want to dump their money somewhere. So they'll be taking decisions that will not necessarily be beneficial to you, for you, and for your careers. So you need to stay the course, be intentional, like Mr. Ejiro said, and just keep pushing, keep doing what you do, of course. And that would be a few challenges I will speak about, I would mention. I'm trying to think if the other challenges aren't too complex for their level. But I mean,
Mr. Bassey,
this
for the benefits,
I've mentioned
yes,
some of the challenges you might encounter.
Mr. Bassey, because of time, we have a very short time to go. For our participants, if you have a question, quickly type your question in the chat box. And if we can take your question before we end, we'll take your question. I just want all our speakers to just give last minute, contributions, to the students. What would you like, the students to know? Just short, and I'll start with Mr. Maduegbuna. What would you like the students to know as we're rounding up?
Mine is very simple. Do what you love, enjoy. You understand? Be adventurous. Now it's time for you to experiment in anything. Enter any class, whether the one you know and the one you don't know, and check out if you like it. It doesn't matter, because now it's time. There was no particular class that we are born with. It's only when you get in there and listening to. And please don't make the mistake I made when I was your age. My chemistry teacher didn't know how to pronounce substance, and it made me laugh, and I ended up leaving the chemistry class. So please, even when your teacher is not good, don't use the way the teacher is to walk away on a subject. Stay in there, and then, like I say, YouTube or any other thing that can help you. But enjoy yourself. Get adventurous, okay? Life is fun. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Ike, is there anything you'd like to tell the students? Mrs. Ike?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. I do agree with that. Do what you love, because what you love will stand the test of time. You don't just go and do something that maybe you were told will put food on your table later on and all of that, and you're frustrated, So do what you love, but please go to school. Because we have some youth, maybe like people that are going to music and all of that, they just want to get there quickly because you have the talent. And really, in our industry, in the arts industry, talent is it. Talent is king. Okay, so you have the talent doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to school. Go to school so that you can broaden your knowledge, your literacy goes higher. You know a lot of things. Your worldview is not narrow, because you're going to need all of these things, when you're actually doing the job. You need to know a lot of things. Then allow people to critique your work. Start writing now. If your gift is writing, start writing and allow people to critique your job, your work. Look for mentors, okay? Then read awesome books. Go on YouTube. We still go on YouTube and Google. You know, Google should indeed be your friend and YouTube should be by the side. So go read awesome books. Watch what you read though. Please do not read things that is going to derail you. You understand? So and learn to be patient with yourself. Because one of the things I learned in this job is that you have to reread. You have to read and read. Sometimes you read what you have written, you wrote before, and you're just like, no, this is not good. Just be patient. Do things right. Do things right. Be patient. Then I'd also say develop other skills. Because in the industry, yes, like Mr. Maduegbuna said, the challenges will lead you to opportunities. But sometimes you want to be sure that you have enough money to feed and all of that. So you can develop other skills. Or another skill where you'll be getting like Mr. Bassey said, where you'll be getting some money while you're on the journey to your dream. And keep improving yourself. For instance, I'm still doing
time. Because of time, we just have less than 6 minutes to go, and I want Ejiro and Mr. Bassey to also give their contribution. So Ejiro, thank you, ma'am. Ejiro, what would you like to say to the students in 2 minutes? Anything critical you want them to know?
Not really. I think Mr. Can't remember his name now.
Mr. Maduegbuna?
The Afrinolly daddy.
Yes, Mr. Maduegbuna
said everything as in a nutshell as it should be. I typically believe that you should chase your dreams and know them as vivid as possible and believe so much in yourself. Fly. You have wings, fly. Do not let anybody tell you you can't do something. They may be saying that because they do not have the vision that you have and they cannot see what you see. If you have a vision, run with it. And do not be scared of failure. Failure is part of success. Failure is part of life. So something isn't shiny, something doesn't work out the first time, just find the blessing in every situation and in every journey. You will fail sometimes. And like you said, don't run away from stuff that are too hard. I did that quite a bit. I didn't like my French teacher. I didn't study French. And now I have to go to shows in Francophone countries. And I'm struggling with my French. And, you know, I could have easily aced that. If I didn't run away from that, I ran away from further maths as well. So now don't box yourself in. It's early days yet to assume or to think you will not be good at something. Try everything. I have classmates that were literally, quote unquote, the olodos in class, and today they have the most degrees or accolades amongst our set. So you are unraveling yet. So be gentle with yourself. Do not overthink everything. Keep trying new stuff. You may just be discovering that thing that is for you tomorrow. So don't give up on yourself and don't count yourself out. Whether you're good at a subject or not, you may get better at the same subject and you may even find other things that you really prefer or love. But try everything, have fun with everything, be open-minded with as much information as possible. It will come in handy, trust me.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker will also mention, you know, something he wants the students to know. Mr. Bassey?
Yeah, very quickly, since we're pressed for time, rejection. It's the way of the world. You might get a lot of that, in your way to achieving your dreams. So, hey, do not give up, okay? Secondly, network. There's a thing called social currencies. Learn to surround yourself with people who they're not just necessarily relevant to what you do, but everyone who can help. Then manage and leverage on those relationships. Also study wide. Know at least a little about everything, at least a little. talent is never enough. You need more than that. So, hey, again, learn a lot about everything. And one key thing, I started with that, which is rejection. It's the way of the world. You're going to get several no's. Maybe, I mean, your first knock might just be a yes. You just don't know, but you could get several no's. So be prepared for that, for those no's, and then just keep going. Keep at it. Best wishes.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our breakout session, and I want to say a very big thank you to our speakers. We appreciate you for taking out time, to talk to our students. I want to say thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. We'll be moving to the general session now. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.